Hey guys, back again with another video. This video is actually going to be, I'm not going to call it a re-upload, I'm going to call it a remake of a video that I uploaded 2 or 3 months ago. Surprisingly enough, that is my most viewed video that isn't a short. But it's gonna be my top 5 best tips / advice for newer car enthusiasts. I've had more experience, like significantly more experience than when I recorded that last video. Most of the entries are gonna be the same, but I do have different outlooks on some things. So, just bear with me. My number one is going to be the same as the last number one, and it's that cars are expensive. I mean, when it comes down to it, there's a very good chance that you won't get the car you want as your first, second, or even third or fourth car. At the end of the day, I mean, some people never actually achieve their dream cars. No, I'm not trying to dissuade anybody. I'm just stating undefiable truths, which if you're 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, whatever have you, my best advice to negate having a car that you don't like as your first car is just start saving, start working as much as you can, start saving money, and have as much as you can for when you get your license. Maybe you can get that car that you want. Granted, if it's something like a Nissan GTR or something, there's a fairly good chance you're not going to get it. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying there's a fairly good chance that if you're in a situation that you don't have very wealthy college graduate, like master's degrees, parents, or what have you, that there's the chance is that your first car is going to be within the $5,000 to $10,000 range. Most people don't even get it that expensive. I didn't. But my advice, because cars are expensive, is just work as hard and as much as you can, and eventually you will be able to get that car that you want. I mean, I'm doing the same thing right now that I'm preaching. I'm putting in extra hours at work. I'm working extra side jobs for people that I know for a little bit of extra money on the side. I'm putting away most of my money that I get from my job directly into a fund that I put up for a car. So, when I last uploaded the video, like the video that this is a remake of, I wasn't doing all that. But now that I'm saving up as much money as I can while still living a relatively comfortable life, it's honestly my best advice to anybody. Like, I didn't even start saving for a car until I was 18 years old. And I am lucky enough to have been given the opportunity by my boss to get a relatively cool car at a cheap price as my first car. Granted, yeah, it's not that great of a car, and it's old, and it has a lot of mileage, but it's still a cooler car than most people get, and I am very thankful for that. When it comes down to it, I do realize that I got lucky that I was able to get somewhat of a nice, cool enthusiast car as my first car. But going on to number two. So number two is going to be some advice that I personally am trying my hardest to take this advice from other car YouTubers that have made very similar recommendations. And this is mostly going to be for people who want to be like car influencers, like myself is trying to be, or I'm trying to be, or however the correct way to say that is. But really, it's gonna be, if you want to start creating content, you can't just buy an expensive car and go into tons of debt and expect to get it all back by making content. My best advice to you is just make content. Even if you have a relatively normal car like a Ford Focus or something, or a Honda Civic, just make content. Go to car meets, do gameplay videos, do list videos, and just save up as much money as you can. Going back to the first entry, which I feel like is the most important tip for new car enthusiasts, is just save as much as you can if you want to be a relatively far along car enthusiast. Like, if you want to be a car enthusiast, I cannot stress enough, you're going to need money. Like, I have sacrificed so many things that I could use my money for, that I would enjoy doing with said money, all in pursuits of getting a newer, funner, more enjoyable car to experience with all of you. And at the end of the day, as a car influencer, if that's what you're trying to go for, you are going to need to sacrifice some things to be able to afford to be one. I mean, look at me. I record on my iPhone SE. That was $200. And yes, I know my content quality, it does show that. It does show that I'm not using an expensive camera or stuff like that. But I'm slowly getting to where I want to go. It does take time. And I'm going to admit right now, I make more money than most people that don't have college degrees, that are like 25, 26. I make enough money and my bills are low enough to the point where I can save $1,000 a month. So I can theoretically save $12,000 a year. Do I do that? No. Should I? Probably. But I am lucky enough and fortunate enough to have a good paying job at a low age where I didn't have to go to school to do it. And I do not mind my job. I relatively enjoy it. My best advice to car influencers are just find the best paying job you can that you won't be absolutely miserable in, and just grind, put in extra hours. If you get called in, go in. Don't spend your money on, I know this is kind of a touchy subject, but don't spend your money on stupid stuff. Like, it might not be stupid to you, but to me it's stupid. Don't buy a whole bunch of like expensive clothes, expensive phones. You know, don't go out and party every other week. Don't eat out every day. Because I'm gonna admit right now, so I did just claim that I make enough money and my bills are low enough to save $1,000 a month. I used to only save like $200 or $300 a month because I ate out so much that I would spend $600 or $700 a month just in fast food. Yes, and I know it's crazy, but you spend it not even realizing it. And advice number three is going to be a fairly quick one. I mean, it's don't settle. If you have a car in your heart that you really, really want and you can afford, Which, side note, make sure you can afford a car before you go out and try to get it. I will always preach that. If you are going to finance it, which, if I had my way about it, I apologize for that. If I had my way about it, I'd pay for every car I get in cash. But my best advice, it really is, do not, and I repeat, do not take out a loan for a car that you cannot afford. Because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is, this might sound harsh, but at the end of the day, exactly what's going to happen is you are not going to be able to afford it. It is going to be taken away from you, and you are going to be upset, and you are going to have lost tons of money. Because I'm not gonna sugarcoat it here, because you were stupid and did something you shouldn't have. It's just that simple. Do not go into so much debt to where you cannot crawl out of it. Do not go into so much debt that it's to the point where you cannot live your life. Because that is the stupidest. I'm not going to say the word I want to because of YouTube, but that is the stupidest way a person can ruin their lives. Just save and save and save. And if you make enough money to make payments on a car, do it. By all means, I do not care what you do with your life, but do not ruin it in pursuit of something trivial like a car. I'm just as much of a car enthusiast as the next guy, but I am not so stupid that I would ruin my life over something so materialistic and so trivial. Anyway, I know that. Let's go into a lighter tone here. My fourth piece of advice is, when you do get a car that you want, whether it be your second, third, fourth car, when you do get that, cherish it, love it, drive it until it cannot be driven anymore. I mean, at the end of the day, we're car guys. Our whole hobby is based around loving and enjoying cars. So when you do get that car that you want, love it and just drive the wheels off of it. I'm obviously not saying put so many miles on it to the point where it's a piece of junk, but just ride it out. Enjoy that car for every second that you have it. Because this entry is also something new, but enjoy it as much as you can. Like I was saying in the previous entries, I'm lucky enough to have a car as my first car that I love and is a very, very cool car, in my opinion. I am very lucky for that. Most people don't get that option, but when you do get that car, when you do find that car that hits all the buttons and that you love it for the entirety of its life. This video is getting a little longer than I want it to be, and I'm not going to do any honorable mentions in this video for the sake of time, but my last entry, and arguably the most important one, or the second most important one in this video, is if you have a car that you do not like and it makes no sense to mod it, do not mod it. I know, trust me, I know there is a lot of pressure to mod your car as a car guy. Like it feels like, oh, I have to mod my car or I'm not a car guy. That is not true. If you do not mod a car that it makes no sense to mod. Do not mod a car that you absolutely do not love with every fiber of your being. Like, for example, I see tons of people, like hundreds to thousands of people in the car community who mod like Nissan Sentras and Maximas and stuff. It's like, that is not a car. Which, if you love your Sentra or Maxima, whatever. but do not spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars modifying cars that make absolutely no sense to modify. Like, if you love the car, sure, that's something, but it's like, when it comes down to it, like Nissan Sentras, Ford Focuses, Mazda 3s, which, if you have a Mazda 3 hatch, then mod the hell out of it, please, I love them. But if you have like a Mazda 3 sedan or something like that, something that's like a trivial starter car, don't mod it. Save that money and buy a car that you love and will drive until its wheels fall off. And mod that car to the point where it is yours and you just love the death out of it. I am actually going to include an honorable mention. That's going to be the end of that one. Another honorable mention. Mod a car for you. Do not be stupid and mod a car for other people. Because at the end of the day, nobody is going to love your car except you. When you go to sell it, nobody is... Please excuse my language, but so many people do this and it makes me so mad. Do not waste thousands of dollars modding your car for attention. Do not be that fucking dumbass who wastes all their money to make people happy when he knows damn well that nobody is going to like his car. That's just what it comes down to, is at the end of the day, nobody is going to like your car. 90% of people are not going to like your car. Build that car so that you love it. Do not build that car because you want other people to love it. That's just stupid, dumb. Ask any car enthusiast that's relatively serious about the hobby, and they will call you a dumbass if you even consider it. Alright, so that's going to be the end of the video. I apologize for really the two relatively harsh entries in this video, but I just had to vent on that because some people are just stupid. And if you're one of those stupid people, I'm not bashing on you or anything, but I hope this video helped you get out of your own head and notice that you have to do things for yourself. But coming to a close, I appreciate everybody on this channel. A like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated. And you guys are fan-fucking-tastic. And see you in the next one.